You're about to fall asleep, and when you do, something remarkable will begin. Your heart will slow, your muscles will soften, your awareness will dim, but deep within your skull, a symphony of hidden rhythms will begin to play. Your brain, that tangled cathedral of thought and memory, doesn't shut down at night. It lights up. It dreams. And this dreaming, is not nonsense. It is not random. It is not static. It is one of the most ancient, complex, and mysterious functions of the human mind. Somewhere between consciousness and oblivion, your brain weaves illusions so vivid they feel real. Worlds built in the dark, stories written without a pen, emotions played out with no audience at all. Why do we dream? What is the brain doing in that quiet theatre behind our eyes? Why do dreams feel so strange, so symbolic, so impossibly true, even when they make no sense? And more importantly, what do these nighttime journeys reveal about the nature of the self? Tonight we step into that question. We'll drift through the stages of sleep, follow the lightning storms of REM, explore how memories, emotions, and identities are rewritten in the silence of night. You'll meet the chemistry behind the shadows, the brainwaves behind the visions, the architecture of the dreams that live beneath your waking thoughts. Because when you close your eyes, you don't vanish, you rearrange. So take a breath, settle into stillness, and allow yourself to wonder, what if the story you're living by day is only half the truth? Before we begin our voyage, if this kind of quiet journey speaks to you, if the gentle mysteries of sleep, science, and the mind stir something within, a like, a comment, or a simple tap on the subscribe button makes a world of difference. It helps this small channel grow and brings these dreamlike explorations to others who might be searching for them too. Now, let the dream begin. As the light of day begins to dim and the noise of the world slips into hush, your body prepares for something ancient. You may think you're simply getting tired, that sleep is a kind of fading, but the truth is far more intricate. Sleep is not a shutting down, it is a transformation. Beneath the stillness of your body, a precisely timed choreography begins to unfold. You are entering one of the most complex biological processes known to life. A shifting of states, guided by waves of brain activity, the rise and fall of hormones, and the deep wisdom of your nervous system. The journey begins with a gentle descent into stage 1 sleep, a brief, fleeting threshold. In this liminal moment, your alpha brainwaves, the calm pulses of a relaxed mind, begin to give way to slower, more wandering theta waves. Your awareness loosens, muscles twitch. You may feel a strange sensation of falling, a hypnic jerk, as your brain tests the edges of consciousness. It's not quite sleep, but you're no longer awake either. You are drifting between worlds. Soon you enter stage 2. This is a deeper level of rest, marked by sudden bursts of brain activity known as sleep spindles and K-complexes. These bursts are not noise. They're a kind of shield, protective rhythms that help you disconnect from the external world. Your body temperature drops, your heartbeat slows, conscious thought dissolves into fragments. You are being gently drawn inward. From there, you descend into stage 3, known as slow wave sleep or deep sleep. This is the most restorative phase of the cycle, where your brain begins to hum with delta waves, slow and powerful like ocean swells. Here the body focuses on repair. Cells are restored, the immune system strengthens, growth hormone is released, memories are consolidated. You are not dreaming yet, but you are healing, physically, emotionally, neurologically. Deep sleep is essential to survival. Without it, the brain becomes fogged, emotions fray, and the body weakens. Yet sleep is not a downward slope. It is a rhythm. Every 90 minutes or so, the cycle resets. You rise gradually from the depths of slow-wave sleep and approach something stranger, something luminous. Without warning, your brain reactivates. Your eyes begin to dart behind closed lids. Muscles become paralyzed, but inside your mind a storm of neural activity ignites. This is REM sleep, the stage of dreams. But we'll come to that soon. For now, what matters is this. Sleep is not one thing. It is a living architecture, built in stages. Each night you pass through 4 to 6 cycles, each one bringing a unique blend of deep rest and vivid dreaming. The pattern shifts as the night goes on. Early cycles favour slow wave sleep. Later ones linger longer in REM. And each pass through the cycle is like a tide, pulling you into restoration, then pushing you toward insight. The architecture of sleep shapes everything. It stabilizes mood, sharpens memory, supports metabolism, and balances the immune system. Without it, the mind frays and the body falters. With it, we mend, we grow, we remember, and we dream. And so, as your body lies still, this inner cathedral is being built, moment by moment, wave by wave. Sleep is not an absence, it is a presence, an unfolding, a rhythm, a return. And now that the descent has begun, now that the scaffolding is in place, the mind prepares to enter the next chamber. The lights are dimming, the curtain is lifting, and the theatre of the dream is waiting in the wings. All living things keep time, even in complete darkness, without a single cue from the outside world. Your body remembers the hours. Somewhere deep within you, a hidden clock is always ticking, not made of gears or numbers, but of light-sensitive proteins, oscillating hormones, and the rhythmic pulses of your cells. This is your circadian rhythm, a roughly 24-hour cycle embedded in your biology, shaped by evolution, guided by light, and orchestrated by a region of the brain no larger than a grain of rice. That conductor is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN, a small cluster of neurons nestled deep in the hypothalamus, just above where the optic nerves cross. Every morning the SCN receives messages from the eyes, not about shapes or colours, but about light itself. These are messages of brightness, wavelength and timing. Even a few stray photons can shift the rhythm of this master clock. Light tells your body it's time to rise and become alert. Darkness tells it to rest and retreat. As the day fades and evening begins to fall, the SCN starts to change the internal chemistry of your entire body. It triggers the pineal gland to release melatonin, not a sedative, but a signal, a biological dusk. Melatonin helps your body shift from the tempo of wakefulness to the slower rhythm of rest. Your core temperature begins to drop, your heart rate slows, your muscles loosen. The thoughts that raced all day begin to lose their sharpness. At the same time, another hormone, cortisol, the hormone that helps drive focus and alertness, begins to fall. Cortisol peaks early in the morning and fades at night, allowing melatonin to take the lead in guiding your body towards stillness. But this internal orchestration goes far beyond hormones. Nearly every system in your body listens to the clock. Digestion slows as your gut prepares to rest. Your kidneys filter blood differently at night. Even your immune system becomes more active, repairing what was damaged during the day. Each of these changes is part of a great nightly transformation. Not passive, not accidental, but carefully timed and deeply essential. And this timing is not confined to the brain alone. Nearly every organ in your body has its own molecular clock. The liver, the heart, the lungs, even your skin. These peripheral clocks keep time with the central conductor, syncing themselves to the master rhythm. Your genes follow suit as well. Roughly a third of your genome rises and falls in activity, depending on the time of day. Your biology is not constant. It is temporal, cyclical, a living waveform tuned to the turning of the earth. When this rhythm is disrupted by stress, shift work, jet lag, or artificial light late into the night, your internal world can fall out of sync, and the consequences ripple through your life. You may feel tired, but it goes deeper than that. Metabolism, mood, memory, even your immune function begin to suffer when your internal clocks are misaligned. It's like playing music with the tempo all wrong. The melody might still be there, but the harmony breaks. But when the rhythm is intact, when your sleep cycles match your biology's natural flow, something remarkable happens. You don't just sleep better, you think more clearly, you heal more effectively, Your emotions soften and your mind becomes more resilient. The brain and body move in harmony, and the architecture of sleep is allowed to stand on firm ground. So when you close your eyes at night, you're not just drifting into silence. You are stepping into a deeply organized pattern, one that has evolved over billions of years, passed down through birds, reptiles, fish and mammals, all entrained to the great metronome of sunlight and shadow. And you are part of that rhythm too, a living being held in the loop of days and nights, shaped by it, restored by it. You are not vanishing, you are folding inward, turning away from the outer light of the world and towards the quiet fire of the dreaming mind. And now, with your body aligned, the cycle prepared, and the stage set, you are ready to cross into the most vivid and mysterious phase of all. The theatre of dreams is about to rise. Something strange happens as the night deepens. Though your body lies still, your mind begins to stir in silence. It starts subtly, a flicker behind the eyelids, a ripple in the brain, and then, without you knowing, the cortex lights up. Regions of the brain once quiet begin to glow again, almost as active as when you're wide awake. But this is not wakefulness. You're still asleep, deeper in fact than before, and yet your eyes twitch rapidly beneath your lids, darting in sharp, quick movements. This is REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the most mysterious chamber of the sleeping cycle, and the birthplace of your dreams. REM is unlike any other phase. It's paradoxical. Your brain is active, even electrified, but your muscles are paralyzed, a strange safeguard, the body's way of preventing you from physically acting out your dreams. The neurons that control movement are deliberately inhibited by the brainstem, placing your body in temporary stillness, while your mind is set free to wander. And wander it does, into the surreal, symbolic, and utterly compelling worlds we call dreams. As this stage begins, bursts of activity called PGO waves, named for the path they take through the pons, geniculate, and occipital regions of the brain, spark a cascade of neural fireworks. These waves are like the opening notes of a dream, activating the visual centers of the brain, even in total darkness. They are thought to be responsible for the vivid imagery, shifting landscapes, and kaleidoscopic quality of dreams. The occipital cortex, normally tasked with decoding light, now paints illusions in shadow and memory. But it's not just vision that comes alive. The limbic system, the emotional core of the brain, becomes hyperactive. The amygdala, which processes fear and intensity, glows with activity. The hippocampus, the brain's librarian, begins sifting through fragments of memory, searching for pieces to weave into narrative. The prefrontal cortex, seat of logic and self-control, falls quiet. It's why dreams feel unbound by rules, why impossible things happen without surprise, flying, falling, encountering people long gone. The dream world is vivid but lawless, emotional but unfiltered. This is not a bug in the system. It is the system. REM sleep allows the brain to simulate, to experiment, to feel without consequence. It is a space where the self becomes fluid, where time breaks down and the mind rehearses without judgment. Some scientists believe REM dreams help us process emotional experiences. Others think they prepare us for challenges yet to come. Still others see dreams as a side effect of memory consolidation, the brain taking out the trash, filing what matters, and throwing away the rest. Whatever the purpose, the effects are clear. When we are deprived of REM sleep, memory falters, mood sours, creativity dries up. The dreaming brain, far from being idle, plays a vital role in our waking life. And here in REM, we see just how strange the mind can become when unmoored from external input. There is no light entering the eye, no sound in the room, no movement of the limbs. And yet entire worlds are being generated internally, populated by people, sounds, colour, meaning. The theatre of REM is one of the most elaborate productions the brain undertakes, and it happens in silence night after night, without applause. It is easy to think of sleep as stillness, but REM reminds us that rest is not the opposite of activity. It is a different kind of activity, one that heals, explores, and transforms. You are not idle, you are dreaming. And the show has just begun. Why do we dream? It's a question as old as consciousness. Across centuries, cultures, and civilizations, humans have stared into the morning haze of a vanishing dream and wondered what it meant. Was it prophecy, memory, madness, or something deeper, a secret language spoken only while we sleep? For much of history, dreams were the territory of mystics and poets. But in the quiet hours of modern neuroscience, a new picture has emerged. And while the full purpose of dreaming remains elusive, what we've begun to understand is this. Dreams are not accidents. They're not leftover thoughts. They're functional. They're active. And they are deeply woven into the fabric of who we are. During REM sleep, the brain is doing more than making images. It is sorting, filing, tagging, and rewriting. One of its key roles is in memory consolidation, the transformation of short-term experiences into long-term knowledge. But unlike the methodical storage we might imagine, this process is creative. Memories are not just preserved, they are rearranged, recombined, integrated with older ones. It is as if the brain, freed from logic, is remixing your experiences into new possibilities, making strange connections, searching for meaning, blending the familiar with the fantastical. This may be why dreams often feel so emotionally charged. The limbic system, especially the amygdala, is more active in REM than in waking life. Fear, joy, sorrow, longing, they play across the stage of dreams with heightened intensity, and perhaps that's no accident. Some researchers suggest that dreaming functions as a kind of emotional rehearsal, allowing us to revisit difficult feelings in a safe space. The brain runs simulations of fear without real danger, love without consequence, grief without loss. It is a theatre of shadows, where we learn to feel and recover in the dark. Others propose the threat simulation theory, the idea that REM dreams evolved as a way to rehearse responses to danger. Our ancestors may have strengthened their instincts not by facing predators in the wild, but by facing them in their sleep. Modern dreams still contain echoes of those ancient rehearsals, falling, being chased, losing control. Though the predators have changed, the rehearsal continues. But there is another layer. Some dreams don't rehearse. They imagine, they invent. REM sleep has been tightly linked to creativity and insight. Studies have shown that people awakened during REM are more likely to solve complex problems or generate novel ideas. The dreaming mind moves laterally, not linearly. It finds patterns where none are obvious. It sees around corners. Some of the world's most famous breakthroughs, scientific, artistic, even mathematical, were born in dreams. This is not magic. It is the untethered mind at play. And still the question remains, why must this happen in sleep? Why must the dreaming mind be sealed away behind paralysis and silence? The answer may lie in energy. Dreaming is metabolically expensive. The brain in REM burns almost as much fuel as it does while awake. But the body, safely paralyzed, uses very little. It's as if the brain borrows energy from the resting body to stage its inner drama. It is a trade, motion for meaning, stillness for simulation. Not all dreams are grand. Many are mundane, fragmented, fleeting, but collectively, over a lifetime, they form a hidden autobiography, one that unfolds not in daylight, but in the strange twilight of REM. And though we forget most of them upon waking, they leave fingerprints in our moods, in our instincts, in the strange sense that something happened while we slept, even if we can't say what. So the next time you dream, whether it's a love story, a nightmare, a spiral of nonsense, remember this. It is not noise. It is a function. It is the brain, unsupervised but not aimless, painting thoughts in the colours of emotion and memory. The theatre of REM may have no audience, no applause, and no clear script, but it plays every night, for every mind as essential as breath. And when the curtain falls, and REM gives way once more to slow-wave stillness, the mind begins again, ready to enter the next cycle, the next act, the next mysterious sleep. Each night as your eyes grow heavy, and your breath settles into rhythm, An invisible hand begins to move through the corridors of your mind. Not a hand of flesh and bone, but a process more delicate, an ancient rhythm written into your biology. A quiet librarian in the dark, filing away the story of your day. You may think sleep is forgetting, but in truth sleep is remembering. Not just keeping what happened, but shaping it, filing it into meaning, weaving it into identity. Across the phases of sleep, your memories are passed like precious cargo from one region of the brain to another. In the early part of the night, deep, slow-wave sleep takes the lead. Here, the hippocampus, your brain's short-term vault, begins to unload its contents, relaying information to the neocortex, where long-term memories are refined and stored. This is the night's first great work, memory consolidation, the slow and steady conversion of today's fleeting impressions into the durable architecture of self. But this process is not rigid. The brain doesn't simply make a photocopy of experience. It edits, it prioritizes. It layers new memories atop old ones, looking for patterns, conflicts, resonance. And then, in the later hours, a second wave begins. REM sleep, the realm of dreams. If slow-wave sleep is the archivist, REM is the artist. Here, memory is no longer just organized. It's reimagined. During REM, the brain becomes wildly active, almost as alert as when you're awake, yet it is cut off from sensory input. With the world outside silenced, your mind turns inward, sifting through emotional memories, replaying moments charged with feeling. And these are not random replays. Your brain selects and recombines them, sometimes linking a recent event to something from years ago, something buried, forgotten. In this way, dreaming becomes a kind of emotional integration, a space where unresolved experiences are revisited, soothed, softened. Have you ever woken with a subtle shift in mood? A memory not quite remembered, yet somehow resolved? That is the quiet evidence of this process. Dreams acting as mediators between your past and your present, between what you know and what you feel. It's in REM sleep that the brain appears to work through trauma, allowing you to relive an experience without reactivating its sharpest pain. This is made possible by the near absence of norepinephrine, the stress hormone that floods the brain in waking life. Its silence in REM creates a safe laboratory, a place to re-encounter what once overwhelmed you without triggering the same distress. This is why people with PTSD often experience disruptions in REM. The mechanism meant to help heal emotional wounds has been interrupted, and without it, nightmares return again and again, unable to resolve. Yet when REM is restored, when the cycle is made whole again, healing begins. It is not instant, it is not complete, but it is movement. So each night, as you lie still, your brain replays your joys and wounds, your hopes and regrets, and asks quietly, what is worth keeping? What story will I tell about today? And so your memories are not just stored, they are shaped, curated, written into the ongoing script of who you are. Not all memories remain intact. Some slip beneath the surface like stones into a river, their ripples faint, their presence submerged. Others remain, not frozen in place, but softened by time, reshaped by emotion, and eventually return to you as something else entirely. Dreams do not preserve the world as it was. They preserve it as the mind experienced it, fragmented, fused, fluid, less like a diary, more like a poem. In the dreaming mind, you are not a historian, you are an artist. As your body lies still, suspended in the hush of REM, your brain is awash in a symphony of activity. The default mode network, normally responsible for daydreaming and introspection, comes alive. So does the limbic system, the emotional compass of your mind, its memories, regrets, hopes and fears. And yet, the prefrontal cortex, that stern gatekeeper of logic and consistency, remains subdued. The rational mind steps aside, allowing fantasy and emotion to take the stage. It is here, in this altered state of consciousness, that the dreaming brain begins its most curious alchemy, creative recombination. This is not repetition, it is reinvention. The mind takes pieces of the day, a half-remembered phrase, a face in passing, a quiet moment of joy or sorrow, and braids them together with memories stored long ago. Moments you thought forgotten, the colour of your childhood room, a song once heard in a supermarket, the way your grandmother stirred tea, all of it, waiting in the wings. Dreams pull from these archives and cast their players in new scenes. The boss becomes the teacher, the classroom becomes a cliff, a sound becomes a storm. The dream doesn't ask for permission, it simply begins. And in that strange symbolic world, the rules bend. The impossible becomes ordinary. And through the illusion, truth can sometimes shine brighter. This strange logic allows the mind to explore what waking thought avoids, to touch tender emotions with the safety of metaphor. A loss becomes a door that won't open. A fear becomes an endless hallway. An unspoken love becomes a letter never delivered. These aren't riddles to be solved, but feelings to be felt, bypassing the intellect, delivering their message to the heart. It is here that dreaming overlaps with emotional memory. While much of slow-wave sleep supports factual memory, the who, what, when and where, REM sleep deals with the why, the emotional tone of memories, their weight, their sting, their softness. In REM, the brain revisits emotionally charged memories with a distinct chemical advantage, a suppression of norepinephrine, the brain's fight or flight messenger. Without it, the emotional temperature of memory is reduced, allowing it to be experienced without panic, reflected upon without re-injury. This mechanism may be the brain's built-in therapist, a nightly, unconscious counselling session where the most difficult moments of your life are replayed in dreamlight, so their edges may be worn down. But even the most powerful dreams often vanish at dawn. You open your eyes, and they dissolve like smoke in wind. Why? Because the brain in REM is in a state nearly devoid of the very chemicals needed to convert experience into long-term memory. No norepinephrine, little dopamine, reduced serotonin. Without these, the dream floats freely, unanchored by recall. Unless you awaken at just the right moment, during or immediately after the dream, and choose to hold it. Yet even when forgotten, dreams leave impressions, emotional fingerprints, a shift in your morning mood, a sudden clarity on a decision, a lightness that wasn't there before. It's not the story that matters, but the transformation. This is the deeper purpose of dreams, not to entertain but to reshape, to take the raw clay of experience and mould it into meaning. And so the dreaming mind is not only a mirror of memory, but a sculptor of self. It asks, what should be remembered? What needs healing? What part of the story can be retold in a gentler voice? Night after night, without effort or intent, you grow, not just rested, but reorganized, not just healed, but reimagined. And when you wake, you carry that quiet work with you, in ways you cannot name. The world feels slightly different. You feel slightly different. And somewhere, deep within the folds of your brain, the echoes of last night's dreams continue to hum. At first glance, sleep feels simple. Your eyelids grow heavy, your thoughts blur and begin to drift. The world fades away. But beneath that soft descent lies one of the most sophisticated chemical ballets in the known universe. Falling asleep is not the result of a single switch being flipped. It is a carefully orchestrated shift in brain chemistry, a molecular handoff from wakefulness to rest. Dozens of neurotransmitters rise and fall in sequence, each playing its part in tuning the brain from alertness into surrender. The key players are subtle, yet powerful. To stay awake, your brain depends on a chorus of arousing chemicals. Norepinephrine, sometimes called noradrenaline, keeps you vigilant and responsive. Histamine, best known for its role in immune responses, also promotes wakefulness in the brain. And orexin, a lesser-known but vital neuropeptide, acts like a master switch, coordinating the wake state, keeping you steady and alert. But when the time for sleep arrives, this orchestra begins to quiet. Orexin neurons in the hypothalamus grow silent. Levels of norepinephrine and histamine fall, and in their place, new messengers rise. GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, takes the lead. It is the master of quiet. GABA binds to receptors across the cortex and brainstem, dampening activity, silencing circuits, slowing the chatter of the conscious mind. With GABA's touch, your limbs grow still, your thoughts stretch long and loose, the transition begins. Another key player, adenosine, has been building up throughout the day. As you think, move and live, adenosine accumulates in the brain like a gentle weight. It suppresses alertness and promotes the desire to sleep. Caffeine, that familiar stimulant, works by blocking adenosine's receptors, temporarily removing the sensation of fatigue. But adenosine doesn't vanish. It waits patiently, and by nightfall, its presence grows undeniable. As you slip into deeper sleep, new shifts unfold. In slow-wave sleep, GABA continues to dominate. While metabolic demands decrease, the brain cools, blood pressure drops, growth hormone is released, cellular repair begins. This phase is restorative but inward, quiet, heavy. And then, as REM approaches, the chemistry flips again. Acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter of attention and learning, surges back. But it doesn't wake you. Instead, it reactivates your cortex while the body remains still. This strange balance, a brain alive in a paralyzed body, is the paradox of REM. Here, dreaming begins in earnest. What's astonishing is that this entire cycle, from waking through NREM to REM and back again, is chemically timed, rhythmically tuned, not by conscious effort, but by automatic shifts in molecular levels, oscillating in wave-like patterns across the night. This is not sleep as absence, it is sleep as alchemy, a nightly transformation of thought and tissue woven by chemistry, carried by silence. As night deepens and sleep unfolds in cycles, the molecular balance within you becomes a quiet symphony, a rising and falling of signals that shape not only rest, but the quality of your thoughts, your healing, and your emotional tone. One of the key instruments in this orchestra is melatonin, often called the sleep hormone. It is not a sedative in the traditional sense. It does not make you sleep. Instead, it signals that the time for sleep has arrived. Melatonin is produced by the pineal gland, deep in the brain, but its release is timed by light, or rather, by the absence of it. As evening darkness settles, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your body's master clock, tells the pineal gland to release melatonin into the bloodstream. Its rise is like the lowering of the stage curtain. The lights dim. The body begins its inward turn. Melatonin's influence stretches beyond just the feeling of sleepiness. It helps reset your internal clock, coordinating the rhythms of temperature, blood pressure, and alertness. In essence, melatonin is a synchronizer, guiding every organ to align with the coming night. But as you drift further into slumber, other chemical messengers take the stage. Serotonin, a neurotransmitter tied to mood and contentment, plays a curious dual role. By day, serotonin promotes wakefulness and emotional balance. But at night, in the darkness of sleep, it helps regulate the transitions between sleep stages. Serotonin levels shift during the night, and in certain brain regions, its presence becomes essential for entering REM sleep, the dreaming phase that gives texture and meaning to the night. Meanwhile, dopamine, that familiar molecule of motivation and reward, continues its work even while you dream. It is active in REM sleep, particularly in the emotional centers of the brain, such as the amygdala and striatum. Here, dopamine may help attach emotional weight to memories, reinforcing those that matter most. This may explain why some dreams feel radiant with joy, or sharpened with fear, even when they defy logic. Emotion is not simply present in dreams, it is chemically amplified. And there are other players too. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is lowest in the early hours of sleep, allowing the body to truly rest. But toward morning, cortisol begins to rise, gently nudging you toward wakefulness. This gradual reactivation helps the brain shift gears, preparing the body for the return to light, motion, and consciousness. Taken together, these neurotransmitters and hormones form a delicate, ever-shifting balance. No single chemical controls sleep alone. Instead, it is the pattern, the waxing and waning of signals that brings rest, dreaming, and recovery. Each phase of sleep has its own chemical fingerprint, its own melody in the nocturnal score. It is easy to forget, lying still in the dark, that so much is happening within. You are not unconscious. You are immersed in the deepest of biological rituals, an intricate dance between brain and body, fueled by molecules, driven by rhythm, sustained by silence. Every breath you take as you sleep is supported by this unseen chemistry, an ancient legacy of life, refined over millions of years, ensuring that when you close your eyes, you do not vanish, but transform. Every night your mind becomes a storyteller, not a rational narrator with a clear plot, but a surreal, symbolic poet. It takes fragments of memory, emotion, and sensation, and weaves them into something strange, a landscape that shifts without warning, a face that belongs to more than one person, a door that opens into sky. In dreams, the rules of reality dissolve, and in their place, a deeper logic emerges, a logic of metaphor. This is the language of dreams, not literal but symbolic, not bound by physics, but by feeling. Your dreaming mind doesn't speak in sentences, it speaks in images, and these images, however disjointed they may seem, are not random. They are shaped by memory, by desire, by fear, and by the ancient architecture of your brain. Some symbols appear again and again across cultures and centuries: falling, flying, being chased, teeth crumbling, missing an exam. These are not just cultural cliches. They are recurring emotional states: fear of failure, desire for freedom, loss of control, translated into the visual code of dreams. In the waking world, we filter experience through logic. In dreams, that filter is lifted, and what comes through is often raw, unrefined, but also more honest. The brain regions that generate dreams, especially the limbic system, are deeply emotional. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of critical reasoning, is largely offline during REM. That's why dreams often feel so convincing while you're in them, no matter how absurd. The suspension of logic allows emotions and symbols to take the lead. A house might not be a house, it might be a representation of your sense of self. A storm may not be about weather, but about inner turmoil. A stranger in your dream might carry the voice of someone you know, or represent an aspect of yourself you've yet to face. And yet, not every dream is symbolic. Some are replays of the day, moments relived, conversations rehearsed. These day residue dreams are part of the brain's effort to process and store what matters. But often, even these literal fragments are recast in metaphor. Your mind is always searching for pattern, for story, for meaning. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. And though many of his theories have been revised, the idea that dreams reveal hidden layers of the mind remains. Modern neuroscience has shown that dreams are shaped by both the brain's structure and its experiences. They are where biology meets biography, where the structure of neurons intersects with the structure of the self. You dream not just because your brain is active, but because it is trying to make sense of who you are. A dream does not begin at the beginning, it often starts in the middle, a scene already unfolding, a conflict already rising. You step into it as if it has always been there, and though it may twist and shift with every breath, somehow it feels whole. This is the narrative illusion of dreaming. Your brain, while you sleep, becomes a spontaneous playwright. It draws characters from memory, sets the stage with emotional tone, and improvises scenes without a conscious script. And yet, when you wake, you often remember it as a story, strange, surreal, but threaded with meaning. How does this happen? One answer lies in the default mode network, a constellation of brain regions that become active when the mind is at rest. During REM sleep, this network lights up, constructing spontaneous, inward-focused experiences. It pulls from autobiographical memory, emotion, identity. It generates scenarios. It plays with possibilities. Without the tight control of logic, the brain is free to associate. One idea leads to another, not by reason, but by resonance. A face reminds you of a feeling. A place reminds you of a time. Dreams unfold through emotional gravity, each image pulling the next into place. Sometimes the result is incoherent, a jumble of images with no thread. But more often, there is a hidden cohesion, a symbolic through line, not logic, but narrative sense, the temporoparietal junction. A brain region involved in perspective taking remains partially active in REM. It helps sustain the sense that you are a participant in your dream, a character moving through an unfolding world. Meanwhile, the amygdala, which colors experience with emotional salience, helps decide what matters, what feels real, what deserves to be remembered. This is why some dreams haunt you, not because they made sense, but because they made feeling. They touch something buried, a fear, a longing, a forgotten truth. And even when they are nonsensical, when the events make no linear sense, they may still leave you changed, because they bypass logic and speak directly to the core. This is the gift of the dreaming brain. It gives you metaphors where you asked for facts, symbols where you expected words, not because it is confused, but because this is how the deeper layers of mind communicate. We spend our waking lives immersed in language, speaking, reading, analysing. But beneath it all is a more ancient tongue, a grammar of image and feeling. Dreams are the whispers of that older self, the part of you that does not explain, only shows, only feels. And in that silent showing, you are reminded of who you are, beneath the noise, beneath the logic, beneath the name you answer to. When you dream, you do not just imagine. You remember what it feels like to speak without words. Imagine for a moment you are standing in a room that you know is impossible. Perhaps the walls breathe, the sky is beneath your feet, or you're speaking to someone long gone. And then suddenly, you realize you're dreaming. A current runs through you. Not fear, not confusion, but awareness. You're still asleep, yet something inside you has woken up. This is lucid dreaming, a rare and wondrous state where the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming, sometimes even able to shape the dream from within. It is not fantasy. It is a measurable, neurologically distinct phenomenon, and one of the most mysterious intersections between consciousness and sleep. Lucid dreams most often occur during REM sleep, when the brain is highly active, yet the body lies still, safely paralyzed by protective mechanisms. But unlike typical REM, lucid dreaming lights up parts of the prefrontal cortex, especially areas involved in metacognition, the awareness of one's own thinking. This reactivation is key. In normal dreaming, the prefrontal cortex is mostly offline. That's why we accept absurdities without question. But in lucid dreams, some part of the critical mind returns. It begins to question, to notice, and to understand this is not waking life. Brain scans show increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a region linked to reasoning, planning, and self-awareness. Also activated is the precuneus, a structure involved in processing spatial awareness and the sense of agency, of being in the dream. But it's not just about brain regions. Lucid dreaming involves a delicate interplay between alertness and surrender. Too much awareness, and the dream collapses. You wake up. Too little, and the dream continues without lucidity. The balance must be just right, a liminal edge between control and immersion. Some people experience lucidity spontaneously, triggered by a dream sign, a recurring oddity, like clocks melting or gravity failing. Others learn to cultivate lucidity through practice. One technique is reality testing, asking yourself throughout the day, am I dreaming? Eventually, the habit carries over into sleep. Another is wake-induced lucid dreaming, in which a person maintains awareness as the body falls asleep. This method requires patience and a gentle descent into a state between waking and dreaming. But lucidity is not just about control, it is about presence, about being fully inside your own inner world, with the knowledge that it is being woven in real time by your mind. Flying, conjuring landscapes, even conversing with dream figures, all become possible. And with it comes a sense of wonder, a sense of play, and for some, even spiritual insight. Studies have shown that lucid dreamers may experience increased problem-solving abilities, greater creativity, and a stronger connection to their inner emotional life. Some use lucid dreams for nightmare resolution, facing fears in a space where they know they cannot be harmed. Others enter with questions about life, love, or purpose, and emerge with answers that feel deeply personal. And yet, despite all its fascination, lucid dreaming remains a rare state for most. Only about 20 to 30% of people report having lucid dreams regularly. Even among those who try to induce them, consistency can be elusive. It's as if lucidity is a window, one that opens briefly, at the edge of intention and sleep. To awaken inside the dream is not to escape it, it is to see it more clearly, to notice the walls of the mind and realize they can bend, to step onto the stage of your own subconscious, not as an actor, but as the director, even if only for a moment. And when you wake, the memory of it lingers like a hidden sunrise, strange, brilliant, and half-remembered, as if your mind had shown you what it was capable of when left to dream with open eyes. What does it mean to know you're dreaming? To look around and realize that everything, the sky, the wind, even your own hands, is being rendered in real time by your mind. To walk through worlds that do not exist, yet feel more vivid than the day you just left behind. Lucid dreaming is not only a marvel of perception, it is a mirror, polished smooth by the friction between awareness and illusion. And in that reflection, something extraordinary can occur. A question rises. What is the self when the world it moves through is imagined? Lucid dreams reveal how fluid our sense of reality can be. In waking life, we often assume the world is stable and objective, but a single dream can overturn that illusion. Inside a lucid dream, you may conjure oceans, climb glowing towers, speak with ancestors, or reshape your own face in the mirror. The boundaries of self dissolve, and yet there is still a you, an observer, a participant, a presence aware of itself amid the shifting tides of the unreal. Some lucid dreamers report using this state not just for pleasure, but for healing. A person haunted by recurring nightmares may, in lucidity, confront the source of their fear, a dark figure, a collapsing room, and speak to it, or dissolve it, or embrace it. And when they wake, the fear is changed, tamed somehow, rewritten from within. Others explore their dreams as a form of personal inquiry, a kind of inner pilgrimage. They may ask a question aloud within the dream and wait. Sometimes the answer comes as a voice, sometimes as an image or a symbol. Not every answer makes sense in the light of day, but within the dream, it feels meaningful. The dreaming brain, freed from logic and ego, speaks in metaphors deeper than waking thought. And yet, lucidity is not infinite. It can fade without warning, unraveling into ordinary dream or waking with a sudden jolt. The prefrontal cortex, so delicately reactivated, may slip again into dormancy. The vividness may blur, control may vanish, but even in its impermanence, lucid dreaming leaves something lasting. A sense that the mind contains hidden depths, and that awareness can bloom even in the soil of unconsciousness. Researchers studying lucid dreamers have begun to push the boundaries of what's possible within sleep. In carefully monitored experiments, some lucid dreamers have communicated with the outside world, using eye movements or gentle muscle twitches. In one study, dreamers were given math problems during REM sleep and were able to signal correct answers from within the dream. This opens a startling frontier, two-way communication between waking and dreaming minds, and it raises deeper questions still. If consciousness can awaken within sleep, what else can it awaken from? If the dreamer can know they're dreaming, could the waking self one day glimpse a similar illusion? Are we, perhaps, always walking in a kind of dream, a story shaped by perception and belief, waiting to realize it? Lucid dreaming is not an escape from reality. It is a doorway inward, toward the architecture of your own awareness. It is both a sandbox and a sanctuary, a space to create, to explore, and to witness the mind dreaming itself. And when you emerge from it, even if only for seconds, you carry with you a strange gift, the knowledge that reality, even when imagined, can still feel true, and that you, this silent presence within, are capable of waking, even in the depths of sleep. There is a moment in sleep when the air thickens, the familiar dream begins to shift, a hallway stretches too long, a voice loses its source, the light grows dim, and the sound of your own breath seems distant. This is the crossing, from ordinary dream into nightmare, where the gentle fabric of slumber tightens, and the mind turns inward toward its fears. But why would the brain in its most vulnerable hours summon darkness? Why, in a time meant for healing and repair, would it whisper dread? To understand nightmares is to peer into the shadow side of consciousness, not broken or flawed, but protective, ancient, necessary. The roots of nightmares reach deep into evolution. In the wild, survival depended on anticipation, not just reacting to danger, but preparing for it. The brain, ever adaptive, began to rehearse, and sleep became the theatre of rehearsal, a place to test reactions, to simulate threats, to practice running, hiding, fighting, even dying, all without risk to the body. This is known as the threat simulation theory. It suggests that nightmares are not dysfunction, but simulation, a nightly fire drill for the soul. And though the dreams may feel terrifying, they serve a purpose, to prepare you for what the waking world might bring. Neuroscientifically, nightmares are most common during REM sleep, the phase of vivid dreaming, when brain activity mirrors wakefulness. During this time, the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, is highly active. This small almond-shaped structure near the base of the brain processes fear, arousal, and emotional memory. When it flares in REM, it can flood the dream with threat, even when no external danger exists. The prefrontal cortex, which in waking life would calm this reaction, remains largely dormant. Logic does not intervene. And so the nightmare unfolds. Your feet won't move, your voice won't call out. You fall, you run, you vanish, or you confront a figure you cannot name, but know in your bones. And then you wake, heart racing, breath shallow, unsure for a moment which world you belong to. But even here in fear, the mind is working. Nightmares may help us encode powerful memories, especially those tied to survival. They may sharpen emotional responses, or allow the brain to process unresolved trauma. In this view, a nightmare is not an intruder, but an unwelcome messenger, one that brings what you've avoided into the center of the dream. For some, these visions pass quickly. For others, they recur. This is especially true in people who've experienced trauma. In post-traumatic nightmares, the brain replays the same scene, again and again, seeking resolution that does not come. But even these dreams hold potential. In therapeutic settings, techniques like image rehearsal therapy allow dreamers to rewrite the ending, to visualize the nightmare while awake and alter it, giving themselves power, safety, choice. When practiced repeatedly, this act of mental redirection can change the nightmare's course. And sometimes, that change carries into sleep, because the mind, even in its darkest dreams, longs not for terror, but for healing. The nightmare, it seems, is not a punishment. It is a cry from within, a part of you asking to be seen. There is a particular kind of dream that feels like it watches you. It doesn't just unfold passively in the distance. It breathes beside you. It knows your name. And when you wake, it leaves behind a residue, as if some part of it followed you across the threshold of sleep. Nightmares are not merely about fear. They're about presence, about a shift in tone so sharp, so visceral, that your body responds as if the threat were real. And in many ways it is. In the grip of a nightmare, your autonomic nervous system activates. The sympathetic branch responsible for the fight or flight response surges into motion. Heart rate increases, breathing grows shallow, the body floods with adrenaline, all while muscles remain paralyzed by REM atonia, the natural mechanism that keeps you from acting out your dreams. It is this very contrast, a racing heart in a frozen body that sets the stage for one of sleep's most terrifying visitors, sleep paralysis. In this rare state, the mind wakes before the body. You become aware, often in a dim half-light, but you cannot move, you cannot speak, and sometimes you feel a presence, something watching, waiting, pressing down on your chest. This phenomenon has haunted cultures for centuries. In Japan, it's known as kanashibari. In Scandinavia, as the mare, a malicious spirit that sits on your chest. In the American South, some call it the witch riding your back. And across the world, the figures seen during sleep paralysis are eerily similar. Shadow people, dark figures at the edge of the bed, a heavy weight that cannot be lifted. Neurologically, these sensations arise from a misalignment between consciousness and motor control. The pons, a region of the brainstem, maintains the paralysis of REM sleep. But sometimes, the thalamus and cortex regain partial awareness before the body's control returns. The result, a mind awake in a frozen shell. The hallucinations that accompany it, often fear-laced, may come from the amygdala, still active and unchecked, projecting terror onto the canvas of half-wakefulness. But even these terrifying visions may carry meaning, not literal, but symbolic. Carl Jung believed that dreams often show us our shadow, the repressed, disowned parts of ourselves. And what is a nightmare, if not the shadow made manifest, an unspoken fear, a guilt, a truth we've buried, risen again in the symbolic language of dreams? Many nightmares center not around monsters or death, but around failure, exposure, abandonment. We dream of being late, of being unprepared, of losing someone. These are not fantasies, they are fears, translated by the mind into stories it can grasp. But just as the brain encodes fear, it can also unlearn it. Extinction learning is the process by which we overwrite conditioned fear responses with safety. And some scientists believe that REM sleep plays a role in this, by reactivating memories in a low-stress environment, softening their emotional charge. In this way, nightmares may be a kind of medicine. Bitter, yes, but purposeful. They surface what we cannot face by day. They rehearse our survival. They reveal our wounds. And in rare moments, they offer transformation. Some lucid dreamers report turning to face the figure in the nightmare, asking its name, embracing it, even becoming it. And in doing so, the fear dissolves. Because the dream was never the enemy. It was a message, a mirror, an invitation to integration. The shadow is not separate from the self. It is the part most desperate to be known. And so, as you sleep, the mind continues its strange and sacred work, confronting what it fears, so that by morning you might carry a little less of that weight into the waking world. As you drift into sleep, you do not simply disappear. You enter a vast unseen library, and deep within, a silent archivist begins to move. This archivist is your brain, and its task is monumental. Night after night, it sifts through the clutter of your waking life. The fragments, the conversations, the glances, the worries, and chooses what to keep, what to discard, and what to rewrite. Memory is not stored like ink on paper. It is dynamic, living, fluid. Every recollection is a reconstruction, and sleep is where the blueprints are refined. During the first part of the night, as you slip into slow-wave sleep, your brain enters one of its deepest, quietest phases. This is non-REM sleep, and it is here that your hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped keeper of new memories, begins to replay the day. Tiny bursts of electrical activity called sharp-wave ripples ripple through this structure, reactivating neural patterns formed during waking. Like a teacher reviewing the lesson after class, the hippocampus rehearses what was learned, then hands it off to the neocortex, where long-term memory is stored. This transfer is slow, rhythmic, and precise. The hippocampus whispers, the cortex listens, and bit by bit, your short-term impressions crystallize into durable knowledge. At the same time, other brain rhythms begin to chime in. Sleep spindles, brief, rapid bursts of brain activity, emerge from the thalamus, synchronizing communication between distant regions. These spindles appear to play a critical role in consolidating declarative memories, the facts, names, dates, and concepts you hope to retain. Even motor memories, like how to play a chord, or ride a bicycle, or navigate the touch of another person's hand, are fine-tuned in sleep. As your body lies still, your motor cortex quietly practices, repeating sequences again and again, laying down stronger neural pathways for skill and precision. And then, in the second half of the night, REM sleep arrives. Here the stage changes, the hippocampus quiets, the emotional brain takes the lead. Now the amygdala, anterior cingulate cortex, and prefrontal regions begin to engage. REM is the domain of dreams, yes, but it is also a time for emotional memory. Moments charged with joy, sorrow, shame, or wonder are revisited in this fluid state, where the lines between memory and imagination blur. This phase may be less about storage and more about integration. Here you do not just remember facts, you embed them in context, in meaning, in the inner narrative of your life. This is what scientists call memory transformation, where sleep not only preserves memory, but reweaves it, connecting distant pieces, drawing patterns that were invisible during the noise of the day. And this process is not passive, it is selective. Emotional memories are prioritized, novel information is spotlighted, repetition strengthens recall. But trivial data, the endless scroll, the throwaway comments, are often discarded. Sleep is not a hoarder, it is a sculptor, chiseling away the unnecessary to leave something more enduring behind. Remarkably, your brain does not treat all memories the same. It uses different regions and rhythms for different kinds of learning. Spatial memory, motor skills, vocabulary, emotional resonance. Sleep is not one thing. It is a mosaic, each tile of the night shaped by your waking life. In this way, you are not just sleeping. You are being rewritten, refined, edited. You wake not only rested, but subtly changed. The archivist finishes its work just before dawn. The library doors close, the dream ends, and you return, not knowing what was filed, what was erased, and what was turned into something altogether new. But somewhere deep inside, your memories now rest differently, shaped by sleep, bound by silence, waiting for the next moment that calls them forth. Not all memories are equal. Some slip away before the day ends. A passing glance, a line of a song, the shape of a stranger's face. But others burn deep into the folds of your brain. The sound of breaking glass, the moment you fell in love, the words you wish you could unsay. These are the emotionally charged memories, and sleep treats them with special care. While the first part of the night, the slow wave sleep, favours facts and structure, REM sleep is the realm where feelings are processed. Here your emotional memories are not simply replayed. They are softened, sorted, transformed. Scientists call this process sleep-dependent emotional regulation. The amygdala, your brain's sentinel of fear and arousal, fires intensely during emotional experiences in waking life. It marks a memory as important, tagging it with salience so that the brain knows to hold on to it. But during REM sleep, something extraordinary happens. The amygdala remains active, yes, but its signals pass through a chemical environment that is strikingly different. In waking life, the stress neurotransmitter, norepinephrine, floods the brain during trauma or anxiety. But in REM, norepinephrine is almost completely absent. The mind replays the emotional event, but in a safe, neurochemical silence. This unique setting allows the brain to re-experience without being re-traumatized. One researcher, Dr. Matthew Walker, calls this sleep to remember, sleep to forget. The event is remembered, its core, its lesson, its truth, preserved. But the sharp edges of emotion begin to dull. The sting begins to soften. A nightmare fades into a memory. And healing begins, not in daylight, but in dreams. This is why people with PTSD often struggle to sleep. The very system meant to help them heal has been disrupted. They wake from REM too early. Their emotional memories remain raw. The cycle of fear cannot resolve. But when sleep is restored, when REM deepens, the healing process begins anew. And it's not only trauma that sleep helps process. Grief, rejection, moments of joy too bright to hold. They too are visited in dreams, their meaning braided into the greater story of your life. But the dreaming brain does more than soothe. It synthesizes, it combines, it creates. During REM, distant memories may merge. Patterns too subtle to notice by day reveal themselves in metaphor, symbol, or sudden intuition. You go to sleep with a question. You wake with an answer. This is the mystery of sleep-dependent insight. It has been confirmed in experiments, people solving puzzles, finding hidden rules, or gaining clarity on a decision after a full night of rest. One famous study gave participants a math problem with a hidden shortcut. Those who slept before attempting it again were more than twice as likely to discover the answer. The brain, it seems, was working the problem in the dark, not linearly, but associatively. Dreaming connects the dots your waking mind didn't know existed. This is the power of creative recombination, a memory of a childhood room, a line from a book, a half-formed feeling. In REM they collide, and in that collision, something new is born. Artists, inventors, and scientists have long spoken of this. Kikuli dreamed of the Ouroboros and saw the structure of benzene. Paul McCartney awoke with the melody of yesterday, fully formed in his mind. You may not be chasing molecular chemistry or writing symphonies, but even in your life, dreams may whisper solutions in their surreal, symbolic way. Sleep does not simply archive the past, it reimagines it, it heals it, it learns from it. And when the dawn comes, you rise not only rested, but renewed, carrying forward the invisible labour of the night, the lessons learned in silence, the emotions softened in dreams. Memory is not just about recall, it is about who you are, and each night, as you sleep, that self is reassembled, not by effort, but by the quiet alchemy of the sleeping brain. Each night, when the world goes quiet and your eyes close to darkness, a different world begins to stir. Not outside, but within, a world sculpted not by light and atoms, but by signals and shadows, by waves of electricity and tides of neurochemistry. This is the biological dream, not the content you remember upon waking, but the intricate machinery that makes it possible in the first place. Dreaming is not a passive occurrence, it is an active process, one of the most complex and energy-intensive operations the brain undertakes. And it begins deep in the brainstem, in a region called the pons. The pons acts like a conductor, sending rhythmic bursts of activity upward through the thalamus, the gateway to the cortex. These bursts initiate what's called PGO waves, ponto-geniculo-occipital waves, named for the path they follow from the pons to the lateral geniculate nucleus, and finally to the occipital cortex, which is responsible for visual processing. These PGO waves are the spark that ignites the dreaming fire. They activate the parts of your brain that see, hear, and feel, even though your eyes are closed and your body is motionless. This is why dreams can feel so vividly real. It's not imagination in the abstract. It's the very same sensory regions of your cortex lighting up, as if you were truly seeing, hearing, or touching the world around you. The visual cortex paints dreamscapes of forests, oceans, cities in the sky. The auditory cortex supplies voices, music, and imagined conversations. Even the motor cortex may engage, as if your body were moving through the dream, though your limbs remain still, locked down by rematonia, a protective paralysis mediated by the brainstem to keep you from acting out your dreams. The chemistry of REM sleep is equally fascinating. Neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine surge, enhancing cortical activity and promoting vivid imagery. Meanwhile, others like norepinephrine and serotonin dip dramatically, a curious reversal from the waking brain. This neurochemical shift alters not just your state of consciousness, but your emotional tone and sense of self. In REM, with serotonin low, the regulation of mood and inhibition lessens. With norepinephrine nearly absent, fear loses its bite, and emotional memories can be revisited without the overwhelming sting they held during the day. This is the strange paradox of dreams, emotionally charged, yet physiologically safe, wildly surreal, yet grounded in real biological rhythms. What's even more remarkable is that dreaming doesn't occur in just one spot. It's a network phenomenon, arising from the interplay of multiple regions, the default mode network, associated with self-referential thinking, the limbic system tied to emotion, and the parietal and prefrontal cortices, which in REM are partially deactivated, explaining the dream's fluid logic, its lack of self-awareness, its willingness to shift without question from one scene to the next. Yet despite the chaos, there is structure. Your brain is not dreaming randomly. It is replaying, rehearsing, sometimes rewriting. It is testing boundaries, fusing fragments, solving problems in metaphor. And it does all this without your conscious permission. The dream arises like steam from deep machinery, inevitable, beautiful, and beyond your control. And then you wake. And though the dream fades, its source remains, not in some mystical realm, but right there in the soft tissue behind your eyes. It is the most human of paradoxes, that from a mass of neurons and glial cells, from electrochemical sparks and molecular messengers, there arises an entire universe where time folds, memory dances, and you are free to fly without wings. The question has haunted humanity for centuries. Why do we dream? We've charted the circuits, we've mapped the molecules, but purpose eludes us. Even now, there is no single answer, only hypotheses, woven from evidence and wonder, like a net cast across the waters of the mind. One theory suggests that dreaming serves as a kind of cognitive housekeeping, that during sleep, especially REM sleep, the brain strengthens certain synaptic connections, while pruning others. This is known as synaptic homeostasis, a delicate rebalancing of neural pathways. Your memories, your thoughts, your learned experiences compete for space in the brain, and dreams may be the visible byproduct of this internal sorting. In this view, dreams are the mind's background noise, a side effect of maintenance, like static from a tuning radio, the fleeting songs of memory being filed and forgotten. But others believe dreaming is more than a side effect. They see it as simulation, a rehearsal space for future threats, for emotional dilemmas, for problems unresolved. From this perspective, dreams are a virtual reality engine powered by memory, guided by emotion. In fact, dream content is often biased toward the social, the strange, and the stressful, themes that might be essential to survival. You rarely dream of doing your taxes, but you might dream of being chased, of falling, of being left behind. And in those dreams, your brain is practicing, not in literal terms, but symbolically, emotionally, in the deep language of the limbic brain. There is also evidence that dreaming contributes to creativity and problem solving. The strange leaps your dreams make, merging ideas, crossing time, bending logic, may help the brain to form connections it would never allow by daylight. It is here in the surreal theatre of REM sleep that breakthroughs can bubble up, cloaked in metaphor. But not all dreams are remembered, and this too is a biological mystery. Why do some dreams linger, while others evaporate before the eyes even open? It may come down to timing and neurochemistry. Dreams that occurred just before waking, especially during the last REM cycle, are far more likely to be recalled. That's when the prefrontal cortex, responsible for memory and reflection, is slowly coming back online. But during deep REM, this region is largely quiet. There's minimal norepinephrine, a chemical crucial for memory formation in waking life. As a result, even our most vivid dreams may never leave a trace unless we wake within seconds of experiencing them. Still, some people remember dreams almost every night. These high recallers often have more frequent micro-awakenings and greater activation in brain areas linked to attention and memory. They are the scribes of the sleeping world, those who carry messages across the border between worlds. But even forgotten dreams may shape us. The emotional work done in REM sleep does not depend on recall. The connections made, the tensions eased, the insights formed, All of it can affect waking mood, memory, even identity, whether remembered or not. And in this, we arrive at a deeper truth. Dreams may be a window not only into memory and emotion, but into consciousness itself. To dream is to generate a world, to populate it with people, landscapes, conflict, desire. It is to live in a simulation built entirely by the mind, a reminder that the brain is not a passive observer of reality, but a composer of experience. Some neuroscientists suggest that studying dreams may help us understand how waking consciousness arises. If the brain can create a convincing self and a believable world during REM sleep, then perhaps waking life, too, is a kind of construction, a fragile agreement between perception and belief. So when you close your eyes at night, you're not just resting, you are rebooting the self, engaging in simulations, tuning the emotional dial, and somewhere, in the quiet machinery behind your dreams, the question of who you are is being quietly, endlessly rewritten. There comes a moment each morning, quiet, invisible, when the dream ends and the world begins again. You may not notice it. You may blink into the soft grey light, stretch your limbs, glance at your phone, and feel as though you simply returned. But something remarkable just happened. Something gentle, yet profound. Your mind, after hours spent adrift in private worlds, crossed a fragile threshold, and now it builds the illusion of waking life, the same way it just built the illusion of your dreams. You may feel grounded, rooted, sobered by daylight, but take a closer look, and you'll find the dream hasn't fully vanished. Its logic lingers, its metaphors remain, and in a way, you're still dreaming, because dreaming was never confined to the night. It is a faculty of mind, the ability to imagine, to simulate, to believe, and waking life is filled with it. You picture your future, you relive your past, you rehearse conversations, project intentions, attach meaning to moments. These too are dreams. They are simply shaped by different constraints. Sleep lifts the rules, frees the associations, lets the symbols roam. But waking thought, it dreams within the borders of language and physics. Still it dreams. In this way, consciousness becomes a continuum, a flowing spectrum of perception, shifting seamlessly from the lucid absurdity of REM sleep to the deliberate attention of daily life. And the transition each morning is more than a physiological shift. It is a rebirth, not of the body, but of the self. Overnight, the dream reorganized you. It tested your fears, soothed your pain, rehearsed your dilemmas. It filed your memories, rewrote your impressions, stirred your emotions into patterns you might only glimpse. And now, the person who wakes is not the same as the one who first lay down. You have been updated, subtly, invisibly. Not with a conscious effort, but through a process as old as life itself. Sleep was never an absence, it was an immersion, a journey into the ocean beneath your conscious mind. And dreaming was its current, powerful, unpredictable, but always carrying you somewhere deeper. Now as you rise, you return with something. Not always a memory. Sometimes just a feeling, a shift in tone, a sense that something has been rearranged. You cannot name it, but you carry it. And perhaps that is the true gift of dreams, not the story you remember, but the change you don't. And so you return. Not all at once, but slowly, as if walking back through a forest you wandered in the dark. The trees are familiar, but you notice something different in their shape. You have changed, though the world seems unchanged. The clock ticks, the room is still. The window catches the earliest blue of morning, but inside something stirs, a gentle residue from the night's voyage. You may not remember the places you travelled. The dreams, if they came, may already be dissolving, but their work remains, etched not in story, but in structure, in balance, in readiness. This is the quiet triumph of the dreaming brain. It does not clamour for credit. It asks for no applause. It simply restores, reinvents, and readies you, night after night, to meet the world again. We've followed its pathways, from the birth of dreams in the ponds to the silent bursts of memory transfer in the hippocampus. We've watched neurotransmitters rise and fall like chemical tides, orchestrating shifts in mood, insight, and emotion. We've seen how dreams soothe trauma, process grief, and reorganize the architecture of self. How imagination doesn't rest while we sleep. It deepens, strengthens, reaches into places that waking life cannot always touch. And now, as this story draws to a close, you find yourself hovering once more in the liminal, not quite asleep, not fully awake. And perhaps that's the truth we've been circling all along. That consciousness is never fixed, never binary. It floats between dimensions, riding cycles of light and shadow, carving out realities as it goes. The dream is not just what happens when the world goes silent. It is what happens when your inner world speaks. And if you listen closely enough, you may find it whispering still, even now. So rest, let go, let the last thoughts of the day dissolve into breath, into silence, into sleep. And somewhere beneath the surface, the dreaming machine will stir again, waiting, watching, weaving a world just for you. You've come far, not across continents, but across the landscapes within. From the stirring of neurotransmitters to the quiet pulse of dreams, your mind has wandered through its own hidden circuitry. Curious, ancient, alive. Now there is nothing left to do. No more questions to answer. No more images to hold. Just this. A gentle exhale. The soft weight of stillness. The slow unfurling of thought into quiet. Let your breath become even. Let your limbs grow heavy. Let the story recede like a tide, leaving only the cool sand of silence behind. There is no need to remember. Your brain has already done its work. The dreaming machine is winding down, its gears soft, its rhythms slow. You are safe. You are at rest. And whatever remains unfinished can wait for morning. So close your eyes and slip gently into the dark sea of sleep.